This is Crazy Shit in Real Estate, and I'm Leigh Brown. Today, you're going to get to learn from Mike Simmons. He is focused on helping people figure out their own systems, whether they're a beginning or an intermediate real estate investor. And frankly, his life lessons and advice, I'm sitting here writing notes. It's applicable to every small business and entrepreneur. So I hope you'll enjoy this conversation. And regardless, I'll see you on the other side. You're listening to Crazy Shit in Real Estate. You'll be amazed at all these wild but true situations that others have found themselves in. Because on this show, you'll hear uncensored, unbelievable stories from the world of real estate. I'm Leigh Brown. Let's dive right in. Before you get the rest of the story, I'd love to share a quick message from today's sponsor. If you've never heard of Follow Up Boss, you're going to love it. It's going to get you organized in a way that will actually impact your business for profitability and for better excellence with those you're serving. For more information, go to followupboss.com/crazy. Who's the bobblehead behind you? Is that you? Is it a bobblehead of you?
It's me. I spoke at an event and I was given that as a gift to be a speaker. Yeah.
So thanks for coming on the show here.
Totally. Yeah, thanks for having me. For sure. This is going to be fun.
So tell my audience a little bit about who Mike Simmons is. What do you do in and around real estate? Why did you land over here on Crazy Shit?
So what do I do in and around real estate? So I started back in 2008. In 2008, we all know what was happening. It was pretty crazy. It's a great time to start.
Woo!
Yeah, great time to start, but I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So I didn't realize it was so great. And I'll be honest, I don't watch the news. So when people say, have you heard whatever? I don't. You have to tell me. I have no idea, right? Like, guys, it's just all bad. So I really wasn't that plugged into how bad the real estate market was for people. But for investors, it was great, right? I mean, it was such a great time to take advantage of things. So that's when I got my start. And I started flipping houses with my wife. And we were watching HGTV and kind of like living that life. And I loved it. I thought it was great. After a couple of years, my wife was a teacher, I should say. She's not a teacher anymore. She retired, but she was a teacher. And she just wasn't down with the ups and downs and the headaches and the stress and all that. And she just said, you know what? This is great. You're good at it. I trust you. Why don't you just do this and I'll support you? And I don't want to hear all the horror stories of things that happened. And so that's what we did. And it took off. You know, if you're a race car fan, my wife grew up in a very conservative house, financially conservative. She does not a risk taker. She doesn't like taking risks. And so when we were investing together, it was like having that governor on a race car, right? You can only go so fast. And she would sort of like pull back and go, why don't we slow down? Let's get this flipped on before we look for the next one. And I was always ready to go. It turns out, hindsight, that was great because it kept me out of doing crazy, reckless stuff in the beginning. But once we had done it for a few years, it was the perfect time for her to step back, pull that governor off the race car and let me go, because my business started taking off after that, because I was way more aggressive making offers. I was more aggressive getting properties, and I was still figuring things out. I wasn't doing it perfectly, but that was sort of the start of where things started taking off.
And so for those of y'all that don't know what a governor is, because I know that my viewers are all over the world, it keeps something from going full out. And in most cultures, school buses have governors because you really can't trust a driver with a school bus full of people at the end of the school day not to just land on the hammer and go. So when we think about HGTV as the start of your investing and flipping journey, a lot of people watch HGTV and decide that's what I want to do. I'm going to be just like these people. Then they realize it's all made for TV and it's not a very accurate story. So I'd love to know how that first house went and how did you keep going after the first house? Because that first house is going to tell a huge story about your, not just your risk tolerance, but your stress tolerance. And the fact that your marriage survived it is a testament to how y'all talk to each other. So high five, friend.
Yeah, that first deal. So I made so many mistakes, but so we bought the house in 2008. And the way it went was we actually made an offer on a house in the same neighborhood about 6 months earlier, the beginning of 2008. And this is like, we're in Michigan now, right? So we're using Michigan numbers here. And during this, huge crash. And so the first house I made an offer and got it accepted $80,000, 3-bedroom brick ranch, cute little house in a nice little, blue collar neighborhood. And back then, small independent banks and local mortgage companies were failing, right? They were closing their doors and things. It was really bad. And so where we were going through, the title company and the mortgage company that we were using went out of business. And so we lost the deal and we lost our EMD. And it was like $1,000, devastating to us because we didn't make a ton of money.
Right.
And so we sort of were like, oh, now what are we going to do? 6 months later, we found a house in the same neighborhood. Like I said, we got an offer accepted for $40,000. And it was the exact same footprint, the exact same house, essentially half of the price of what it was 6 months earlier. So blessing in disguise, we lost a little EMD,
Right.
but we would have lost our butts on that house had we bought it for $80,000.
So hang on. How did you catch it for 40,000 less? Had the market decelerated that fast?
It was a different house. It was a different house, but yeah, the market had gone down that fast. The houses were just plummeting. And let's be real, like in real estate, we know sometimes what you buy a house for has more to do with the distress level of the seller than it does maybe what the house is worth, right?
Yes.
And so the second house, a little bit more distress, a little bit more motivation. And so yes, house prices had dropped, but also we had a much more motivated seller at that point. So
well, and everything's relative because as some people might remember, there were $1 houses in Detroit during the recession. But if the house has no HVAC and the windows are gone and the plumbing's been stripped and the electrical stripped and the houses around it are being raised, $1 can still be a lot of money because of what you got to put back in. So it's all relative, just like you said, and has everything.
We could have a whole discussion about Detroit properties.
Oh, I mean,
it's a whole yeah, you're right about the distress of the house. But the reality is you buy a house for $1 in Detroit. Back then, you look on like Google Earth or Google Maps, you can literally see like gang activity in the Google images.
Google Maps, yep.
So it's like, it's the danger level too.
And I don't think we're going to see the full effects of how the leadership of Detroit handled the city for another generation to come because the wildness of raising a city block of houses, except for this one. So you'd see like one house on a block and everything else gone. They're basically left to fend for themselves like they're pioneers in the Wild West. They don't have anybody to protect them. It's wild. But anyway, it's a whole different rabbit hole to go down. So anyway, so you did the first house, got lucky with losing the deposit because, I mean, that's actually a really good perspective for people as the market changes now. Sometimes it's better to lose 1,000 than be out 50 later, which is basically what's going to happen as things changed. Yeah. But what was the biggest lesson you learned in that property once you bought it? Were you surprised by anything, whether it was your own expectations or your wife or the house itself?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the house turned out great and we made money. But during the process, so when I went to hire the contractor, I'd never hired a contractor before to do work. I made a couple of mistakes, a big mistake and a little mistake. A little mistake I made was I went on Craigslist and put out this thing. I'm looking for contractors, which is fine. And I decided, it seems rude to invite them all there at the same time. I'm going to set up a 1 per hour. I'm going to set a meeting with contractors 1 per hour for 8 hours.
You thought they were going to be on time? You sweet, naive man.
I thought they were going to show up. I had 8 contractors lined up. 2 showed up.
That's pretty good.
The 9 o'clock appointment and the 3 o'clock appointment. So I sat in this house basically from 9 until 6 and got 2 people to show up. And after that, I said, you know what? I don't care if it seems rude. I'm inviting 20 contractors. They're all going to come at the same time. And the smart thing about that is you can answer questions once and everyone hears it. When one contractor sees something and says, hey, what about this? Everyone can be on the same page and it can be apples to apples. So there's a million reasons to bring them all there at once. And by the way, if you do a mass showing with contractors to show them the house and get quotes. If a contractor pulls up and sees there's other contractors there and just leaves, that guy doesn't play well with other people. And so you don't want to be in your contractor anyway.
He doesn't want to do a competitive bid either. So that's something to be aware of. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So that was the small mistake we made. The big mistake I made was I hired someone, I hired a general contractor. He hired out all the subs. We got through the whole project, relatively painless, got everyone paid. He leaves, done. I'm going to sell the house and I get this lien in the mail, a contractor lien, right? He didn't pay the electrician. I paid him for the electric work. And that's what I told because I was caught off guard. I didn't even know what a lien, like a contractor's lien was. And so I called them up and I said, hey, I did pay you guys. I paid you I paid the whole bill. And they're like, well, you may have paid your general, but he didn't pay us. And I was like, that's a thing? Like, what happened? And so I negotiated. We got the price a little bit lower. They were nice and cool about it. They got it that I took advantage of. But what I learned was you need to get a release of lien from all your subcontractors. If you have a general, don't assume because you give them a $5,000 check for the electrical that they're passing that check along to their electrician, because sometimes they don't.
That's an interesting point to make, because it's a standard form in North Carolina at a closing that the sellers of any property have to sign a lien waiver. And many of our closing attorneys are just moving so quickly to get to the next closing, sign this, sign this, sign this. And so many clients aren't paying the slightest bit of attention to either what they're signing or what the other party is signing. They don't even know what they're signing. And on a resale home, it's the seller saying, I've paid for everything. And if it wasn't paid for, I'm going to cover it, because the scenario like Mike's describing here could be somebody coming back after the fact saying, I'm the one that did the work and I never got the money, because there's all these moving parts and somebody's got to provide that coverage. And so if you're buying a house from a bank or a foreclosure, you're not going to get a lien waiver. So it's super important that you have a closing attorney or a title company that's going to make sure they've done a last minute search for liens, because even if it shows up at the courthouse 1 minute before closing in North Carolina, it's going to supersede, because we're what's called a race state, not race like the diversity people, but race like a run, run, run. And the first one to the courthouse to record it is going to be the one on the paperwork. So it's a really interesting thing where you realize maybe I do need to have a realtor and an attorney and a whole team full of pros in this process so that you can avoid that kind of excitement. And on a side note, I'm just realizing all those contractors may have worked for Time Warner at some point in their life if the window was 8 hours and one showed up at the beginning and one showed up at the end.
Exactly. And the thing too is to remember in real estate, sometimes things move fast. And so even if you have a whole team, if you're finishing the rehab and you're closing really, really quickly, that lien may not, no one will find it because the electrician or whoever it is just hasn't gone through that process yet of putting the lien. So you really have to make sure that you are getting your subcontractors signing these releases so you don't have the issue after the fact. I didn't know. I never even heard of a release of lien. I didn't know what it was. And, it happens. These are things that happen. But at the end of the day, just to kind of put a little closure to this, we bought the house for $40,000. We put about $15,000 into it. And at the end of the day, when it sold, we made $15,000 profit, right? More money than my wife and I had ever seen in our lives at one place. And like I said, my wife's very conservative. And so she was nervous this whole time. Had I lost money, we wouldn't be talking right now because I probably would have been forced to quit, right? But we did make money. And so she was like, not only was she like, okay, this is okay to do. She's like, when are we getting the next one? Let's move. Let's go, right? And so she was all in, and it was awesome. We had a great time learning, and we just learned it to, I think this is important for husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, who work together. Have clear roles, right? Don't cross over and have it be vague who's in charge of what, because that's when her and I would have conflict, when we both felt like we were supposed to be doing something and nobody was clearly in charge of it. And so we just drew clear lines, what she did, what I do, and it was great. It worked out great once we did that.
Some realtors do more business than others, and it's not just their great looks and their charm and amazing hair. It's their follow-up, y'all. People on average forget the marketing message after 16 days. Follow-Up Boss will plug into the system you're using. And yes, they integrate with over 250 different programs to help you get organized with your past clients and with those neighbors that frankly should be your future clients. And if you go to followupboss.com/crazy, you get a 30-day free trial to go see how this works for your business. I can promise you, the people who forgot you didn't mean to, they want to hear from you. So go to followupboss.com/crazy, and you'll suddenly figure out why all these top producers in the market are getting more business. It has to do with organization and detail work, and you can get there too. Followupboss.com/crazy for your 30-day free trial. Check it out. Let me know how it goes for you. So what was it that drew you to the space that you're in now, where you're doing as much as you can to help take people and move them into the residential investment space? And where do you see the best opportunity for the person getting started? And the reason I ask that, of course, we're recording this at the end of August 22. The economic climate is wildly volatile. And so there's many people that are thinking, all right, my stocks look like crap 60 days ago, they've come back a long way. Maybe it's time to look at real estate as an opportunity. So what is the 0 to 60 pathway for people, and where do you encourage them to get started?
Great question. I will say this. I could talk for quite a long time on the coming market and what I think, but here's the Cliff Note version. I was an investor before the market took off and went crazy great for sellers, right? This appreciating, this high values, over asking, and all this stuff, right? I was investing before that. And when this market started coming on, right? When we started seeing prices going up, and then when COVID hit and things started going crazy, investors were concerned that it was going to be extremely difficult or impossible to find good deals because house prices were soaring and who's going to sell me a house at 50 cents on it out, right? So we were all afraid of that market that was coming. Like, this is going to be so hard to find deals. We've gone through that. Everyone was fine. And what I'm hearing, because I talk to a lot of investors, what I'm hearing is, oh my gosh, the market's changing and it's changing into more of a buyer's market. I'm so worried about my business. How am I going to survive? And I'm like, wait a minute.
No, yeah.
You were afraid. You were afraid to go into the market we just left. And now we're going back to the market that you originally wanted to stay in. And you're afraid of that. You can't be afraid of everything, right? The market is great. It's great right now. It was great a year ago. It'll be great a year from now. It'll be great 10 years from now. Here's why. Some people enjoy snow skiing and some people enjoy water skiing. So if I ask you, right, if I say to you, it's snowing out, how's the weather? If you're a snow skier, you're going to say the weather's great. It's great. I love it, right? If you're a water skier and it's super hot out and I ask you you're going to say great, right? The weather is great. The market is great all the time. You just have to adapt your strategies a little bit to fit the market condition. It's like that book, Who Moved My Cheese? The cheese is moving right now, okay? If you keep looking for cheese in the same place you looked 2 years ago or a year ago, it's going to be challenging for you. But if you change and move with the market, you'll be totally fine. The market's always great. The market is not out to get you. It just is what it is. How you react to it is everything. And so the market's great. You asked me a question, 0 to 60. I think the path is the same. I really do. I don't think somebody said to me recently, and I love this. They said, with the new market coming, I'm going to have to change my entire business. And I said, no, you don't. People flipped houses 10 years ago. People are going to flip houses 10 years from now, and people are flipping houses now. Whatever your strategy is, you can keep doing it. What changes a lot of times is where you find the deal and how you speak to sellers. The language is different. In an appreciating market, you cannot tell them their house is losing value. They know that it's not, right? In a declining market, you can tell them, listen, your house was worth this 6 months ago. It is now, you can show them, now it's worth this. There's a trend going in this direction. You hear the news. By the way, the news will do half the work for you because the slightest drop in house prices, the news will try to scare the ever-living crap out of you. And so you can just, if they watch, and everyone watches the news except me, but if they watch the news, they're going to know their house prices are going down. And so it's not a scare tactic, but it's just real. Like, house prices are going down. If you say no to me today and you call me back in 3 months, my offer could be different, right? And those are the conversations that you're having now with sellers that you couldn't have 6-8 months ago.
Well, and the market is the market. And it's so interesting to me that people do get so hung up in it. But I was writing down what you said. The market is not out to get you, because I love that phrase. People do act like it's all personal. Like,
yeah,
I can't function in this market. No, baby, you can function. You just got to figure out if you should, because depending on risk tolerance, some people could not function in the last market because it was wildly appreciating. Some people's risk tolerance can't handle a stabilizing, normalizing, whatever is about to happen market. And so it's a personal decision, but the market is not out to get you. Totally stealing that just for the record. Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so you also said you work with intermediate investors. How would you designate an intermediate investor? Is that somebody who's got 10 under their belt, 1 under their belt? What makes you intermediate?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody, but I would say an intermediate investor is somebody, let's just say for the sake of using volume because I don't like using revenue or profits, because California revenue versus, the Tennessee, it might just be totally different. World. Yeah, right. So it's not the real world. So I would say volume wise, somebody who does 10 to 20 deals a year, something like that. That's probably intermediate. They're not beginner level for sure. They're not making millions of dollars a year either. They have a good business. They know how to find deals. Usually what I find with beginning investors, it's all about money and leads. That's all they want to know. How do I find a good deal? And then how do I fund that deal? Right. And so for beginners, it's all leads and funding.
Okay.
With intermediate, what it is I don't know how to scale. Like I did 10 deals last year. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I can't imagine doing more than 10, but I want to do more than 10 because 10 isn't enough to get out of my job, or maybe 10 isn't enough to meet my goals that I want to meet. And so they hit that glass ceiling where they know how to find deals. They know how to maybe flip a house or whatever they're doing. They know how to find rentals, but they just don't know how to scale it up. They don't know how to take it to the next level. And it's always things that they're not doing, like they don't have any processes in place or systems, things that they do repeatedly to keep it effective and efficient. They're not hiring, they're not building a team to help them. The biggest mistake people make, and I did this for a long time, I said, I want to be a bigger company. And to be a bigger company, I need to hire people, but I can't hire anyone because I'm not a big enough company, right? It's like this circular logic.
Yes.
I was doing that for a long time. And it wasn't until I surrounded myself with the right people, I started making sure that I was in rooms with people who were doing things that I wanted to be doing at a high level very successfully, and started asking questions and following some direction. I was hard-headed. I thought I could just figure it out on my own. And it wasn't until I sought help, mentors and coaches and masterminds, that I was. And by the way, I've given this presentation on stage where I show like my growth in my business. And it's sort of like slow and boring and not really all that much growth. And then at this point, I hit this hockey stick growth. And so everyone always asks me, what happened right here? What happened during this? I don't care what you did back here, because that's not exciting to me at all. But where hockey stick, like what happened there? And really, one main thing happened. I started investing in myself, in my education. I started hiring mentors and coaches. I started listening to them and not trying to reinvent the wheel. And, I was raised by a Marine, and I'm good at following direction when I feel like the direction is good. And I started seeking out people who had the business and the lifestyle that I wanted, and asked them questions. And I did what they told me to do. And it works. What do you know? You follow breadcrumbs, and it leads to the place where the person is who left the breadcrumbs, right? So I started following direction, and my business soared. I started creating systems and processes, hiring people. By the way, I started tracking KPIs, things that aren't always sexy or intuitive to you when you're starting off. You must know your numbers. Most businesses that fail, there's maybe a lot of reasons why they failed, but a common reason, they don't know their numbers. They have no idea what their numbers are.
No, they're ishing everything. And friends, if you're watching or listening to this and you're thinking, I'm not that big of an investor, I'm going to tell you everything Mike just said is applicable to your loan business. If you're a lender, it's applicable to your real estate brokerage. If you are running a brokerage, if you are a sales agent, this applies to everyone. You have to stop ishing your number. You have to stop thinking you're going to need to recreate the wheel or do something unique and fresh and new, because spoiler alert, nothing in this business is really new. You can freshen it up, but you'll go so much further if you do what Mike said, find a coach, a mentor, and listen to them. And the book I was looking for, and I was spun my head, is by Dan Sullivan. Do you know Dan Sullivan? He's the man who has coached more entrepreneurs than anybody else in the world. And that's who I want to be like. And Dan writes a book a quarter. He is so prolific. And one of the books he wrote is called Who, Not How. And he does what you're describing here is a lot of us think we have to figure out everything because we're not ready yet. Dan's whole point is once you see the next steps, find the who, and they'll take it and run with it with you. And so that's a huge opportunity. So Mike, if somebody wants to connect with you further and learn more about the systems and maybe gain some confidence and figure out how to scale along with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and your offerings?
Yeah, thank you. So number one, I have a podcast. These people are podcast listeners and watchers that we're talking to here. So I have a podcast called Just Start Real Estate. That's one way. And then if you want to find me directly, and I do have for your listeners, if you're interested, if you go to my website, mikesimmons.com/winning direct mail, I have a whole direct mail system video course that's totally free. It's a course that it's all everything I've learned, and I've spent over $1 million now on direct mail. And I believe direct mail is one of, if not the most effective way to find deals in any market. Totally. And I've created a video course that's totally free, end to end, exactly how I do it. So if you're doing it now but not getting the results you want, I think I can help you. If you've not done direct mail before, this will walk you through it. So I think people should go grab it.
And that means 2 of you will actually follow through on this, and the rest of you are going to forget about it. But when you come back to this and think maybe I should be number 3, all of the links that Mike's just given you are in the show notes for this episode. So why don't you make the choice to do something a little different? And instead of letting fear guide you when the market shifts, go learn something, implement something, and be a part of whatever market's in front of us. Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us some insights into your investing background and giving people a little bit of focus for the future.
Thank you. I had a great time. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. All right, friends, say something nice about Mike in the comments. Make sure you tune back in next time because you never know what you're going to find over here on Crazy Shit. We'll see you. Okay, now don't forget to go try Follow Up Boss so that your business can continue to expand in professionalism, and then you can meet some more crazy people yourself. I really appreciate Follow Up Boss sponsoring this episode, but mainly I appreciate them for giving y'all double the free trial time with no credit card required. So make sure you go to followupboss.com/crazy and then let me know what you think. I'll see you guys next time. As always, I'm so super thrilled that you joined in for more crazy shit. And if you're a realtor, investor, inspector, lender, or just a regular human being who happens to have an unbelievable story that you need to tell the world about, or frankly, you just need to one-up the story you just heard, then make sure to DM me on Instagram at Leigh Thomas Brown, or tweet me at Leigh Brown, or frankly, any social network where you hang out. I'm there. And if you had some fun, then you totally want to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.